In this video, we will be solving a problem from CSS Battle. The main goal is to understand what CSS properties can be used to achieve this UI instead of aiming for highest score. We just want to understand how we can solve this in real world scenarios. We can use couple of properties like Flexbox, grade, and webkit-box-reflect to achieve this target. So let's just get started. I'll start with a Flexbox approach, and later on we can look into other approaches as well. So let's say I have a style tag here. You might see a few things already here when you will come to this battle. It's just that I've cleaned everything. So let's visualize this first. So let's say we have this target, and in this there are two rows. So this is the first row and this is the second row, and in these two rows we have two children. So these boxes are the children of first row and these boxes are the children of second row. So let's try to write the structure in HTML first, and then we will get into the styling part. So let's say I have a div. I'll give it a class of container, and then inside the container we have two rows. So let's create a div again and say class is equals to row, and since we have two rows, so we can duplicate these, and inside these we'll have two child each. So div, and I'll give it a class of child, or I'll say box, let's say. So we can duplicate these because each row has two boxes, and then inside this also I'll have two boxes. So I think as far as the HTML goes, this is what we need. So let's start with the styling part. So first of all, let's give 100% height and width to the body. So we can write width to be, so this dimension is given here. So let's say width is 400 pixel and height is 300 pixel. And then we'll try to clean all the margin. So let's say we have a margin, we will just remove the margin from here, and let's try to give a background color, and I can copy the background from here. Got it. So I think as far as the body goes, this is the styling that we need. So let's try to put dimension for the boxes, and then we will get back to the rows. So let's say for each box, so each box is of like width 50 pixel and height is 50 pixel as well, and the background color for the box is this. So I'll just quickly put it here. Now what we need to understand is that the parent of these boxes is row. So let's create a row class here, and the first thing that we want to do is just give a display flex property, and now there is a display flex property. Let's try to separate them by saying justify content and space between. So now these two, let me just comment this, it will help you to visualize this better. I think I'm gonna comment. Okay, yeah. So because I've removed the other row, you can see these two boxes placed at each corner. Now as you can see, there is a spacing. So I think for spacing, all I need to do is to this container class, I can give a padding. So padding can go somewhat like 50 pixel, and I think now it's at the exact position where it's supposed to be. So let's comment in the other row as well. Now what we need to do is we need to give the flex property to the container as well. Now by putting flex, these are coming right next to each other because the default direction for flex is row. So we can change that. We can say flex direction to be column instead, and when I do this, we see the same thing. But now all we need to do is just give a justify content property like we did for this one, and give it space between, right? Now still you don't see any difference because the height of the container is not it's exactly equals to the size of its children. So what I need to do is I just say let's say height of 100%, and when I do this, I think we are not able to see that, but it's going below this window. So we need to make sure that the padding that we are adding is actually included in the height as well. So to do that, what we can do, we can say box sizing, and we can say border box. So what this will do, this will include the padding and margin, whatever we are doing. So sorry, padding it will be included in the height itself. So it won't be like 100% plus 50%, 50 pixels, sorry. The padding is also included in the height as well. So now if we see, we don't see any difference. We can just hit submit and see. Let me press this again. Yeah, so it's 100% match. So this is all you need to do for Flexbox approach. Let's try to go for the grid, and let's see like how we can achieve the same thing in grid as well. So for grid, what I'll do, let me just remove everything, and what I'll do, I'll start with a div, and let's say in this case I don't want to go into the overall container, or maybe just make a container, that's fine. So I'll say class container. So this will have all the children, and I'll have 4 grid elements. So it can be div, and I can duplicate these. So we have 4 containers. Now what we need to do is, so we have 2 columns and 2 rows, and it is very straightforward from here. So I'll say style, and again have to put for body, I'll put the same things. I shouldn't have removed everything, but yeah, let's do it again. So for body, what I need, one is background color, which is this one. Second one is the width, which is 400 pixel, and height is 300 pixel, and we don't want any extra margin which comes with it. So that is that. Now the container, so what we need to do for container is, because as you see, this is div, right? So this is blocked scope. So for blocked scope, we don't need to specify width, it will take the entire width. We just need to mention the height, so let's say 100% height, and let's just see. So now this is the container, we have 100% height. For all these divs, let's try to give a color and dimensions so that it's visible. So width is 50 pixel, and height is 50 pixel. Now I can give background width, and background can be this one. Now these are not coming in rows, so there are no columns. There is only one single column right now. So what we can do is, we'll go to this container, we'll say that what we need, so this has to display as grid. That's all we'll do. We'll say display grid, and in that grid we need to specify how many columns are there. So what we need only 2 columns of equal size. So we'll say grid grid template columns, and we will specify one fraction. These are fractional units, so these will be equal, and then we just make sure that the container that we have, because we don't want to give this styling to this div, so just make sure that we put this, and inside whatever containers we have, we can put this. And yeah, I think mostly this is what we need to do. Now again, we should specify the padding and margin for this. So let's say padding is again 50 pixel, and now we need to make sure that these are separated. So to do that, we can use something called grid column gap and grid row gap. I think in this case we do not need to use the row gap, but let's use the column gap. So grid column gap, so it is like, you can think of it like justify content, but justify content is something which calculates the distance automatically, but this is where you can specify the distance in units, like how many pixel you need. So we can say, let's say 200 pixel, something like that, and yeah, I think this should also be 100% match. So let's test this. Just submit. Yeah, so this is again 100% match. Now let's see what are the other ways this can be solved. So one thing is, there's one property called webkit-box-reflect. I'm not sure whether you have used this before. Let's try to use it here. What I'll do, I'll just quickly revert this, or let's start from scratch. So again we have body, then you can have background, same thing. Let's say width is 400 pixel, height is 300 pixel, and there is no margin. And then once the body is there, what we can do is yeah, I think this is all we need for body. Let's try to see what can we do in HTML. So in HTML, I think we just need a single container. So let's say div with class container, and in this we need two classes of, like, two divs, which can have class of box. So the idea is that what we will do, we will only create one row sort of, and then we will try to reflect that sort of by reflect you can make a copy of your HTML structure. I'll just show you, then I think it will be more clear. So we have, let's say, a box, and then we have something like another child, which is this box, let's say. Now after doing this, let's try to see the parent, this container. So now in this container, what we can do is we can, let's use display flex again, and in display flex we can say justify content, and it will be space between. Now after doing this, let's go back to boxes and see like what styles do we need here. I think one is color, so background will be this, and then we'll have width of 50 pixel, height of 50 pixel, and once we have this, we are able to see this. Now the idea is again I'll put some padding into this, because this is my container, but I want to replicate the container itself. So what I can do in the container, I would say webkit-box-reflect, and I can say bottom, and I should, okay, it's not bottom, actually it's below, and I can also specify like how, like the value in pixels, like what should be the distance. So let's say that distance is 100 pixel. Now after putting this, all I need is to put the padding again. So now that padding won't go on the container in this case. Let's say in this case I'll do that on the body itself. So padding can go to 50 pixel. right? And I just need to make sure that I say box sizing border box, right? So in this case also, this is I think it's 100% match. What you can do is you can maybe create one more container on top of it, and all the styles that we have done here that can go into body, because in projects like wherever you'll have these kind of scenarios, you will not be styling body that much. You will always have a container. So let's try to test this. So let's see. So yeah, it's again 100% match. Now for fourth approach, what we will do now, this is something which is by using box shadow. There is one more, you can use box shadow also, but yeah, I mean it's good to understand like how this can be created using shadows as well. So let's see, I think we don't need much HTML for that. I think one single div is fine, and I'll try to combine the box reflect and box shadow. So one single div is there. Then we have a body. In this body, I'll keep I think these things. This is fine, and I'll have single div, right? So in this single div, just create here, and in this div, what I'll do again, I'll have the background color, which is the color of the box, and width can be 50 pixel, and height is again 50 pixel. So I see one box, but now what I can do, I can use webkit box reflect, and I can project this box on the right hand side. So I can say right, and I can mention the distance as 200 pixel. Right now, what I'll do, I'll create a shadow of this entire div below. So I'll use box shadow, and by using box shadow, I can specify 0 pixel for this. I think for this I need to, because this is the y axis. So for y axis, I can say 150 pixel, 0 for this, 0 for I think, yeah, correct. And then I need the same color that I get here. So I'll just copy this and put the color here. And yeah, I think this is again, now this is just using one div, but most likely you will not use this approach as well in your projects and where you have to build UIs. But it's good to know that this can be done using a single div as well. I think let's check if it's correct. Yeah, so it's again 100% match. I think hope this video was useful for you to understand this. Thanks for watching.